humans looking at, and what are you looking through? Or was I supposed to say, take me to your leader, but don't worry, I think I come in peace.
It's called a telescope, and we use it to look at the stars and planets and other things out in space.
How does a telescope work?
A telescope is used to see things from far away with lenses and mirrors.
When was this telescope invented?
The first telescope was invented in the early 1600s, and it is recorded that Galileo was the first to use a telescope to study the stars.
Can I look through one?
Sure, adjust it if you can't see in it.
Ooh, ah. What are these things laying on the desk?
They're called computers. They're very important pieces of technology that we use on a daily basis. We work for NASA, which stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
If there is another planet that NASA found that is very similar to ours, with a 30-hour rotational period orbit that takes 300 days, but the distance is about 2/3, I believe that life could live on it.
What are computers used for? Wouldn't the size of the sun also affect if life could live on that planet?
They are used to communicate with the world, and yes, if the sun was slightly smaller than ours, it'd probably be just right for life to exist on the planet.
So if there was water, all the conditions would relatively be the same to our planet?
Yeah.
Why can't I communicate with your planet from my planet?
There are satellites up in the sky, but they're only on Earth.
Do you communicate 24 hours a day?
Yes, that is possible.
Coronal mass ejections from the sun can disrupt Earth's communications from its huge bursts that push our spacecraft and satellites around.
Wow, did it get dark? Who turned off the lights?
Don't worry, it's only nighttime. You don't need to be scared.
What is nighttime?
The Earth orbits the sun, which causes 24 hours in a day.
What's the thing glowing in the sky?
That's the moon, which also affects the tides. It kind of looks like cheese. It orbits our planet, and the light from it is reflected from the sun.
The moon looks like it changes shape because the moon is covered by the Earth's shadow from the sun. Because it rotates, we see different shapes of the moon from the shadow. When the moon is completely covered by the shadow of the Earth, it is called the new moon, a new moon. There is also a full moon and even a waxing crescent.
What happens if the moon, sun, and Earth are perfectly aligned?
A lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth's shadow blocks sunlight from reaching the moon.
So it will be light again soon?
Yes, the moon's gravitational pull causes the oceans to bulge out in the moon's direction and results in tides in the water. A bulge on the opposite side of the Earth is called from the water being thrown outwards by the planet's spin. The bulges travel around the world and produce 2 high tides every day.
Why does it look different here?
It is a different season. Here that happens when the Earth tilts towards or away from the sun.
Does this happen a lot?
Yes, it happens every 6 months.
How does it work?
As the Earth spins on its axis around the sun at different times of year, the axis is facing at a different direction. When the axis is pointed towards the sun, direct light reaches the Earth, and summer occurs in the northern hemisphere.
When the axis is pointed away from the sun and direct light reaches the Earth.
When the axis is pointed towards the sun, the North Pole gets sunlight 24/7 for 6 months, and the South Pole gets no light. When the axis is pointed away from the sun, the North Pole gets 24/7 total darkness for 6 months, and the South Pole gets 6 months of total daytime.
Wow, that doesn't happen on my planet. My planet is cold and barren because it is the farthest away from our sun, but we can live in it. Our planet doesn't rotate on its axis either, so one side is always dark. Okay, so I'm gonna fly back home. I'll call you guys later.
Okay.
Okay.
So where am I going next and how do I get there?
You're going to Jupiter. You can get there by going away from the sun and across our asteroid belt. It is the first planet after the asteroid belt.
All the planets orbit around the sun in our solar system. An orbit is the path something takes around another object. Our Earth is the third planet from the sun.
So what would happen if Earth was closer or farther away from the sun?
If we were closer to the sun, the Earth would be too hot to support life. If we were farther, the Earth would be too cold to support life and the water would be frozen. We were in the perfect spot.